What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back, America. It's going down another week. Exciting football took place. Of course, I'm Jonah Willard, my partner in crime, Clayton Guillory, and my man Al G in the background, on the ones and twos. Clay, man, nobody's safe in this football world, man. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. The rankings got shook up off the bat. You gave me a fair warning, man. We had a production meeting. You talked to me about the 10 and under. You was like, man, I know the LA Chiefs out there, man. But, bro, I really, really like Monarch. And I'm like, man, I don't know, bro. And sure enough, play by play, it came into fruition. What was your take on that game on the 10 and under matchup as number 4 in the country goes down?
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, when we were out there, I was really impressed, not just with the Oceanside Monarchs 10U team, but also the 11U. But I felt like the 10U specifically had a very, very strong case to be ranked. Now, here's the thing that I saw firsthand when we were down there. They did a really good job of pass blocking and throwing the ball. And I can tell you, as a former coach from having a team at that level, when you can throw the ball effectively at 10 years old, it makes you very dynamic. Those are the two reasons why SCD and Rare Breed was so dynamic last year, because of their ability to put the ball in the air and get it to their playmakers. And that's the one thing that I saw that Oceanside Monarchs did well. They threw the ball very well. So, of course, from my observation, let's think about it as a defensive coach, man. If you're a defensive coach and you're coaching 8U, 9U, 10U, what's your primary concern? You worried about stopping the run. Not too many defensive coaches are really putting in a game plan or properly coaching or training these defensive players how to effectively stop the pass. Their remedy for stopping the pass is putting pressure on the quarterback. What do you do when that quarterback is athletic, like the Monarchs quarterback? What do you do when you've got an offensive line that can pick up the blitz, like the Monarchs offensive line? I mean, a lot of people say the run sets up the pass, but with them, it was almost like their passing game set up their running game for late in the game.
Wow.
So it's going to be interesting to watch this team continue to evolve.
Well, Clay, we always say, man, preseason always an opportunity for us to see teams that just really pop on the map. A couple of years ago, you looked at More Truth, they popped on the map to you. Is this one of those teams that you think made a showing nationally, not only the days that we were out there in California, but following up with a big, huge win against Chief team?
Well, I think the two things that you really have to look at is the big win against the Chiefs was huge for them, right? But as I think about it, on their 10U and 11U level, who do they have to knock off? They got to knock off OG Ducks. I do think that the Monarchs, if I'm picking right now, I think they are favored on the 10U level over the OG Ducks, just from my personal opinion, right? Because from what I saw from the OG Ducks down there on 10U, I really wasn't impressed to the point to where I felt like they could shut the Monarchs down. Now on 11U, that's a different story. I think that that's going to be a very, very tight game. But then think about it. Air just beat the 11U OG Ducks. And what does Air like to do? Throw the ball. So again, on the 10U and 11U level, we might be getting ready to see a start of a shift in power towards another organization besides the OG Ducks.
Well, speaking of another organization besides the OG Ducks, man, IB Brave setting California on fire right now on multiple age groups. And we already saw what they did on 13, going into Texas, defeating DEA, coming to a nail biter, which arguably people feel that they should have won against the Golden Army at the 13U. 12 and under comes out there and pulls off, and I won't say no win. They dominated from kickoff to the whistle being blown at the end of the day. And at one point, the game got out of hand where it was mercy rule. And this is not the OG Ducks that we used to seeing. This is not the OG Ducks that has been dominant on the ground, dominant defensively. This is a different defense. Now, when we say, is this a different OG Ducks, or do they have to adapt to this age group?
I think you really have to adapt to the age group because I said this before. Take a coach like Coach Keefe, who is the face of the OG Ducks. He is almost like a unicorn. Not everybody can go call offense on 8U and turn around and then go call offense on 14U. Two totally different mindsets, right? Two totally different game plans because the kids are older in one age group, they're younger in another age group, and their abilities and how they understand the game and the concepts and schemes are totally different, right?
Right.
So, and I've said this before, not to say it's a shot at anybody's coaching ability, but I will say this. You have to coach differently 8U, 9U, 10U, and 11U than you do 12U, 13U, and 14U. If you don't have a clear understanding, almost two, and when we're talking about, when I say almost two, I'm talking about the select level, select national level that we're talking about, you have to have almost a high school varsity coaching understanding and ability and be able to teach this to these kids to be able to compete at this elite level, right? So what I think has happened is that I think it's time for that OG Ducks 12U team to mix some things up, right? Everybody knows what they're going to do. Everybody knows they're going to try to get big and run the ball, and then if you stop that, then they start to pass. If I was the OG Ducks, I would look at my schedule for the rest of the year, and I would say I'd take a realistic analyzation of it and say, can I beat these teams left on my schedule with just that run, right? And then in the shadows where nobody can see, I'm working on a killer passing game
Not in the
all
shadows,
motherfucking
Clay.
year. In the shadows, Jonah, I'm working on a killer passing game. So if I got to pull that passing game out when you play the OC Buckeyes, then you have it.
Right.
But hopefully you don't. And then when Nationals come around, boom, you lighten everybody ass up with it. But whatever it is they decide to do, they have got to change it because what has been successful for them before, everybody has the recipe to stop it right now.
Yeah, and not just offensively and them putting up points. What's been challenging for the OG Ducks that I'm not used to seeing is that the amount of points they're giving up, yielding 30 points against this IB Brave team, yielding a lot of points to DEA. Again, it's different when, and you got to remember, OG Ducks the year before they popped on the scene in 2021, came out in the preseason, had dominant showing, went down in Georgia, played in like 5 or 6 games back to back, went undefeated, and went on a tear last year. But now everybody has film on them. Everybody knows they're the target. They're the team to beat. And you're getting everybody's best game. So it gives almost kind of a little bit more credit to those teams that go back to back to back to back champions because once you're the man, everybody coming for your head. And OG Ducks is getting everybody's best game when they get out on that football field.
Well, another thing that I would probably add to Jonah is this might be a great opportunity for them to take a good look and analyze their roster. And you might say, Clayton, well, what are we talking about, right? So traditionally, when you have a team that the core stays the same every single year, coaches as well as players tend to get into grooves. They tend to get into habits to, well, all right, this kid is going to do this kid is going to do that. But what I did notice is that in some of these games when they put backups in, some of the backups were making plays. So we might have to start looking at that starting lineup.
Right.
Maybe some shuffling in the players. Some of these backup or role players put in some of these starting or star roles might change some things up as well. Because you know as well as I know, man, it's been many a great players come off that bench after they get tired of watching somebody else eat off their plate.
Man, I got to tell you, it was one time over in New England that the backup quarterback got tired of sitting behind him and finally ended up getting that starting spot. And he looked back, TB12 been lighting it up ever since then. You know, so you may be right. That may be some things they got to look into.
No, you're 100% right, man. I
Ready.
mean, hey, what was my man's name? Was it Bledsoe? Had Bledsoe never been hurt, we wouldn't be calling Brady the GOAT right now, possibly.
Hey, man, look how long you had to search for that name in your head, man. That man got so forgotten after Tom Brady got on that football field. You had to go in the archives. Well, Bledsoe, man. Bledsoe walked inside the grocery store. Them people, hey, man, you got to pay for that. You got to pay.
Right.
So, man,
right.
Some big games coming up, man, this weekend. Clay, me and you about to get on the plane and go to the ATL, check out some great matchups, some teams coming up from Florida, invading the state of Georgia. It'll really be a Florida versus Georgia thing going on. You're talking about the Plantation Wildcats, which accommodated, and of course, the league they're usually in is a May birthday, but they've actually accommodated and said, listen, we're going to play by the rules. So that's a team that they're going to take on RDU out of Georgia. RDU now benefiting from the loss of the OG Ducks and still in the top ranks. Even with the loss now, they look back at getting on track. And here's a great opportunity that they have this weekend on taking on the Plantation Wildcats to continue their run, or if Plantation Wildcats can make some noise for the first time here in the eyes, in the front of everybody watching the YNC contenders.
Well, one of the main reasons why you and I are definitely flying down for this event, we'll be commentating live streaming on Generation X, is because, man, I've been hearing a lot about this Plantation team for the past 2 years. But like to you just spoke to, they have been built around their league's cutoff date, which is in May. Now, last year, if my memory serves me correctly, I think I had a conversation with their coach about them winning their league, being highly ranked, and that even though their league was set up with May birth dates, they were set up on July 1st birth dates, and they were trying to get to the YNC last year on 11U. Just so happened we were already full. Nobody backed out at the last minute, so we couldn't open up a spot for them. People had already committed, and flights and hotels and all that sort of stuff. So they were kind of stuck on the outside looking in. Now we have this information well in advance. This is a team that is being looked at to see, hey, is this a team that can get one of those 8 magical invites to the Youth National Championship Division 1? So with that being said, I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. I'm going to see it firsthand. Now, Jonah, I've never been to this school. I don't know if we're going to be up in the press box or if we're going to be on the sidelines,
Yeah.
but we'll be up in the press box. But for me, it's always important for me when I analyze a team, I like to see them up close in person with my own eyes. I look at other things that you don't necessarily see on the live stream. I look at what type of vibe, what type of energy is on the sideline with the players. I like to see if a guy emerges as the star, how does his teammates rally around him? Or does he alienate himself when he comes to the sideline? Also, what I pay very close attention to, what type of vibe is in the stands with the parents when they're up? What type of vibe is in the stands with the parents when they're down? Because here's the thing that people don't understand. When you're trying to put together these select national teams, you basically are recruiting parents more than the players. Because it don't matter how talented a player is. Parents can be a cancer and destroy your team. Parents have to have the same vision as you. So it's going to be interesting to sit back and just kind of watch all that, especially since I've never been able, or let me rephrase that, I haven't seen a Plantation Wildcat team in person since they won the national championship in year 1 of the YNC when we was back at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, that's been a minute, man. They defeated B Morton's team, and B wasn't really loaded that year, but that's the last time Plantation Wildcats made an appearance. And I can tell you, this would be the first time that RDU is going to be challenged vertically in the air. They have a quarterback that this team actually throws 70% of the time of their offense. So it's usually different.
Oh, boy.
Usually in youth football, it's 70-30 versus run versus pass. So they're going to have a work at. Their DBs are definitely going to have a work, and this quarterback is tall. It's about 6'1". He's going to go ahead and challenge them at the 12 and under division. Then RDU is going to be RDU. They're going to try to run the ball and play championship as they've been playing for the last four years when going back to back. So that's going to be an epic matchup that kicks off at 5 p.m. Popcorn and everything.
Hold on, Jonah. Hold on, but I don't think you've touched on the elephant in the room. So, see, let me tell y'all about my guy Jonah, y'all. For y'all that don't really know, Jonah is kind of like Jonah lived 2 lives, right? Jonah got one life where he's a hard-working corporate guy. He comes home, he eats his dinner, he has him a cigar and a drink, and then he sleep by 9:30,
Right.
and then he's got his Thursday night and weekends night when he turned into what's my man off of Get Rich or Die Trying that had the Yankees gold tooth out his mouth. You know who I'm talking about.
Right.
You turn into that guy. So last night while you were asleep, bro, the 12U landscape was tilted on its side. I don't know if you've heard the news. Louisiana Grizzlies 12U is no longer. Did you know that? From what I hear, 4 to 5 main pieces went to RDU. Not to mention, some other main pieces went to DEA, including Stanker. So now, here's the question. How will these 4 new players fit into Coach Reggie's big scheme at RDU? That's what's going to be key. to me.
Well, well,
Because here's
listen.
the thing:
Everybody knew the
no matter
cutoff.
how talented the team is, no matter how
Right.
talented the team is, no matter how talented the coaches are, right? If I'm mom and dad, I'm not coming from Louisiana for my baby to come to Atlanta and sit on that pine. So we're
Absolutely
gonna have to
not.
see how this thing gonna work. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody promised a spot. Now, somebody has been promised a spot in that rotation. So, absolutely, major moves in the transfer portal. We knew it all shuts down tonight at midnight. We'll touch on that. It's listen. Youth football has changed so much, Clay, that now, they have the dates. Hey, man, our roster has to be final, and we'll talk about how final that has to be. That there's no adding kids, there's no getting somebody off another team. It's basically a wrap after 12 o'clock tonight. But man, that's huge. That as this national, I would say national a movement started, how these connected the dots. That these parents want an opportunity to play on a national stage, willing to go ahead and travel state to state. And this is no different as I used to watch AAU basketball, baseball, that they used to do that then. But no one really had the interest because football was really localized with the Super Bowl being your ultimate championship in your local area. You won your Super Bowl, you walk around in Dade County or Broward County or whatever county respective you from, and you was the king of the hill. Super Bowls are really almost like a bracket final now, not even a state final. So not dismissing what the local leagues do for a lot of area, but this really has grown to a national, almost you want to say like college. NIIs are people getting offered money for the lights and appearances. If you're one of those kids that really stand out, and you got to say, listen, I don't know who's the most popular youth football, but a kid like last year from Kane Archer, that you got people want to give him deals at 13 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now,
Yeah.
how do you manage all these egos? How do you manage all these parents when a lot of teams are like this? And it's a lot to please everybody. And a lot of people say that's what really happened to that DEA 13U team, that there was a lot going on. And in Texas, and this is your hometown, Clay, that there's offer to play in your middle school football, kind of dispersed. So we never really got to see that DEA championship roster take form in 2022. And all of those players that won the national championship played one down of legal football. Not discounting what IB Braves did at all, but we know that running back wasn't there, quarterback wasn't there. Of course, Booby was there for a couple plays, but Booby was a recipient of a skill position. But without your quarterback, without the other running back, that's a shell of that team. So how do you think that really just weighs out with these national teams just really trying to stay cohesive throughout the year?
Man, it's a new age landscape for us, right? New age landscape. And like you said, it's almost transitioned in the same manner that the NCAA has transitioned. You made the reference to AAU basketball, and I think you are 100% correct. It also reminds me of how 7-on-7 is right now. The only difference is that we have to in tackle football, you lock on a roster. In 7-on-7, hey, that roster on these big time teams is changing week to week.
Right. Week to week.
So Rusty Noel put up a post earlier today. He's one of the DEA 12U coaches, and he talked about
Right.
how last night, they were up late, working some things out with parents and players because they knew that roster had to be locked before midnight tonight, right? And in addition to that, he talked about that some other stuff is still in the works. There still may be some changes going on. Maybe some changes going on as we speaking right now. All I can tell you is this, man. If your roster needs to be in before 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. For those of you that don't know what Central Standard is, that's Texas time. If you're on the West Coast, that means the roster need to be in the email before 9:59 p.m. tonight. All right? Because once it hits midnight, we locking those rosters down and everything is going to be cataloged. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing changed, Jonah. I've gotten so many phone calls from all different teams across the country asking specific questions about rules because the one thing I am happy about, people want to make sure that they're if they are making changes to their roster, that it's done the correct way, that the player is eligible, that the player hadn't played any games yet, that's already made them ineligible, that I had one guy call and say, "Hey, can a guy play in the YNC and play middle school football?" There's no rule that says that he can't play middle school football, but the rule does
Correct.
state if he's an eighth grader or a ninth grader, he cannot play on a team with teammates higher than ninth grade, and he can't play against opponents higher than ninth grade. It has to be
Correct.
freshman football. If he's an eighth grader playing on a ninth grade team, and that team plays against a JV team that has 10th graders, guess what?
You
That
got it.
eighth grader is now ineligible for the YNC. So all these sorts of questions have been coming to me all day. I've been breaking it down, taking people step by step because I want to make sure that these kids get an opportunity to come down to Wellington, Florida, whether if they're going to be in Division One, December 5th through the 11th, or they're going to be down in Division Two from December 12th to the 18th. I want them to be part of this show because this year, Jonah, ooh, Lord, as them old folks say, ooh, child, bless your heart. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I can tell you, Clay, man, just looking back at some of the previous years we have, I'm excited of just the potential of what this is going to look like from 6U to 14U. The competition level is just going to be bananas. And you see these, and you just see this from the preseason, man. We haven't even really got deep in the season. And again, what I could really appreciate is that nobody's safe. In each and every one of these age groups, you got to play football every week. Nobody's running away with it. Of course, you got some teams that still haven't been challenged thus far. You know, Lambeau at the 10U, Rare Breeds at the 11U. They went up, shout out to them. They went up to Brooklyn and handled their business up there in New York. And it's good to see these teams taking this national approach and getting out and getting those games. But, man, this year's YNC, I can tell you, it's going to be absolutely epic. Man, get y'all stuff together. Get your vibe together. Play your games. Coaches, get your team focused. You don't want to be on the outside looking in. So I'm excited about that. And talking about excited, Clay, we talking about going to Atlanta this weekend and watching some great football. Let's not forget the 13 and under matchup. Probably one of the best 13 matchups you're going to see all this year. We couldn't stay away from this matchup, man. You're talking about big FU, Falcons United, taking on a lot of Hill Lions. Man, arguably here's the thing about these top 5 13U teams, Clay. Let me just tell you something. Any of these teams could be number one in the nation. They are one play away from being the number one team in the nation. All of them have a skill set that's different from each other. Golden Army was able to prove that showed that they had the wherewithal, the stick. Not only they never laid down. They were down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, 7 minutes left, and them kids played with heart. They talking about, well, you know, IB Braves gave that game away. Well, I don't recall IB Braves wearing a uniform, wearing a pick six, going the opposite way. I don't recall IB Braves being a quarterback rolling out down the sideline and throwing a 48-yard play on a strike. So plays had to be made. Nobody gave anything away. That's part of football, man. It's a give and take, absolutely. I'm sure if the offensive coordinator had a second guess or how would he relive it again, I'm sure he's replayed that fourth quarter a million times in his mind. I'm sure he would want to run the ball a lot more. But make no mistakes, that DB had to jump the route, take it to the house, quarterback. So they were down 2 touchdowns. So, and then you look at Falcons United. Here's a couple question marks. They played an undefeated season. They've dominated everybody they played. They just ended up playing the Seminoles, Creekside Seminoles this weekend and won 56-0. So the question is, how are their quality opponents? Have they played a big-time team to really give them a challenge? Well, you'll answer that question on Saturday. You're playing the number 2 team in the country, arguably right there, even back and forth with the Army. And people say this to me all the time, they inbox me, Jonah, how could you have the Army in front of the Lions when the Lions have defeated the Army in previous years? Well, if you watch football, that Army's not the same team. When you can go ahead and you bring in that new quarterback, Tampa Bay wasn't the same until they got Tom Brady. What happened that year? They won a national championship year 1. So when you start at the signal calling and you bring in big-time players like number 9 with the pick six, you bring in a kid like Roach at running back who used to play on the Lions, play on the Lakes, that changes the dynamics of that particular neighborhood rivalry. So, man, it'll all play out. They all got to come to YNC, my man. But before we even think that far in December, Clay, it's going down Saturday night. I don't know if you had to ask me to pick it, I'm honestly at a stalemate to see who would win this game between Falcons United and Lauderhill Lions at the 13 and under game.
I'm gonna tell you, man, it's a game that I'm excited for. If you remember, Jonah, we were talking about this game at the YNC preseason event in Houston. It was a possibility that we was going to get this game day 2, but they had already had this set up. So we said, hey, we're going to sit back. We'll make sure we there to stream it. This is going to be one of the biggest games in youth football this year. Now,
Yeah.
right now in the polls, depending on which rankings you're looking at, we're looking at number 2 versus possibly number 3 or number 4 in the country. And as you just, describe both teams very well, both teams have dynamic players. I think I saw a poll on social media where somebody was breaking down who had the better quarterback, the better running backs, the better receivers, D-line, O-line, coaching, and whatnot. And what was interesting is I watched that entire list. It turned out to be even at the end, 4 check marks
Wow.
to 4 check marks. So this is a game that's very balanced. But here's the thing that I think is going to make this unique, and this is what's going to get people talking, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how you've looked at this 13U age level, right? Some people believe Golden Army is number 1, which we have them number 1 in the Generation Next polls. Other people believe that the Lauderhill Lions are number 1. Let's talk about FU for a moment.
Right.
FU, as they say, Big FU. Big FU has a primetime game in Atlanta. The crowd is going to be there against a Florida rival, right? Everything is going in their direction. So my question
Right.
is, if they knock off Lauderhill, do they jump to number 2? Or does their body of work speak for them to get a number 1 nod
Right.
over the Golden Army? Now, other side of that coin, Lauderhill, who has beat DEA, Lauderhill, who has beat Southfield Falcons, Lauderhill, who has beat Duval Jaguars. If
Right.
you add a Falcons United win to that list, does their
Yeah.
body of work say we're number 1 now? Golden Army's got to go to number 2. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. I can't tell you who's going to win. I can tell you this, though. I'm going to have a front row
Yeah.
seat.
Right.
And I'm going to try
All
not to
day.
cuss on you live, Jonah, because I know how you get. I'm going to try not to cuss.
And while we there, man, we gonna be awarding our straight dogs. So as Clay and I are traveling the country and looking at some of these top players of the country, we're gonna start letting. It's too shiny right here, Clay. The diamond's too high, but you're gonna see the Generation Next thing. You're gonna see the straight dogs on the ring. So when we get it there, we'll find the top offensive players, defensive players. We're gonna come out on the football field and start blinging all these kids up. They don't have to wait to the national championships to start getting blinged up. We're going to start blinging them up right now. Of course, we'll have a little battle package sent to them. And each one of these big national matchups, including both of these matchups, the 12 and under, the 13 under. I see Demarcus jumping on here. He said he want to get on that undercard. Well, we in the city. Jump on that undercard, man. We trying to see some good football. Period.
Just don't do your game. Don't do your game before 12:15 p.m. because I fly in Saturday morning. My flight land about 12:15, and I'm gonna grab me some Waffle House because ain't no Waffle House here in San Antonio, and then I'm headed straight to the stadium after that.
Hey man, I was gonna tell you stop, give me some papados real quick, and just we'll eat that in the press box, man. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a papados down here in South Florida, man. That papados get me every time I'm in the A, man. It's nothing like it. And when I come out to y'all, Clay, in Texas, the lick, that thing is crazy.
Hey. Jonah, what was that seafood spot we went to that time when we had the meeting in Atlanta? The very first meeting, remember?
Oh,
this is 6 years ago before we started the YNC.
It was called Spindudas or Spindada, something like that. Hey, people from Atlanta, y'all jump in. That seafood spot start with a spin.
It's right by the airport,
the name of it.
It's right by the airport. Hey, that joint was popping too.
Something.
That thing was packed. Remember that?
It was packed. Yeah, it was D'd up. And had tall crab legs coming out the buckets. The Spondivas. That's it. Man, it was a vibe. It definitely was a vibe.
Hey,
as a matter of fact,
I might have to hit that as soon as I land. I might have to hit that.
Yeah, but they told me it fell off, but it's
not
the vibe no more.
It's not?
You heard me? Yeah, y'all dropped the new seafood vibe. They told me that ain't the vibe no more. They overcharged. The customer service ain't on. So I don't want to get you in there. They'll drop some of the hot spots for us, man. So, but no, we definitely enjoyed that.
It don't matter, Jonah. I'm gonna be spending Ricky's money. He paying.
So ride out, bro. Ride out. Yeah, you can Uber Eats it to the press box. Just get like $400, $500 worth of seafood. Let's do it. We good. We got 2 games so far unless they add an undercard to it. be more than go ahead and see if y'all get Demarcus in there. But man, all serious, all jokes aside, man, I think this is really going to set the swing for the national rankings for a long time to come. These two big games here, and we'll really get to see where these two teams stand out because everybody got the preseason jitters out their way. It's time to play some football now. And like I said, now we can really judge both of these 13U teams and playing a quality opponent in front of them. And like I said, they're two different opposite things. You look at Hayes, the quarterback for FU, probably arguably one of the top quarterbacks at the 13 and under position right now. This kid he's a drop back passer, scans the field. You saw what he did out there in Texas. He can pick you apart. Then you talk about on the other side for a lot of here, you keep talking about a kid, R1. Man, he can score from anywhere on the football field. Look, Nick has been the GOAT for a lot of here for the longest. So a lot of people just say that don't get caught up on the new money. Nick is still one of those players. You sleep because they bracket him a lot. So, they want to put on the double team. But I think that bracket might kind of shift when you're talking about R1 coming out of that backfield, man. He playing his foot, and it's a touchdown. So that matchup is going to be absolutely epic. And Claire, I want to talk about what teams we think fell short in the YNC last year that you think could actually make it to the championship this year, just kind of based on what you're seeing, based on what you're hearing. I look at a team like on the 10 and they're on 10 and under this year, but 9 and under. You talk about a team that came out of Miami Gardens, ended up playing TNS, lost big, but this was a team that was dominant in the FYFL. And you talk about the Hot Boys led by Coach Greg. I think if they get back to the basics, this is a team that's hungry. I talked to the coach. He's like, man, we got embarrassed. We got out there. We underestimated them boys from TNS, and they came out and jumped on us early. And they understand what it is to be in that national marathon. And what do I mean, national marathon? It's not like playing on a Saturday. Then you get to go home and talk with your mama and chill out, play, relax, eat some food, and then practice Monday, Tuesday. No, you get your win. You get to your hotel room. You break down your film. You get your body recuperated, and you up the next day. So that national marathon is a high-paced thing. It's a must. It's endurance. It's not no sprint. You got to be ready for 3 highly intense. And the thing about YNC, you don't got no games off. You get off the plane, you playing the top team in the country or top teams in the country. You don't have no gimme where you just get to beat somebody 30-0. No, you got to play football off rip.
Hey, and what you're speaking about, Jonah, is 100% facts, because here's the realization a lot of people don't understand. Let's take Mark and Coach Street, for example. Both these guys, very flamboyant personalities. Both these guys talk a lot of shit on social media. You see these guys in person, they talk a lot of shit as well, too. But here's the one thing people don't really realize. Tell me the last time you've seen Demarcus hang out after a game at the venue at YNC. Tell me the last time you've seen Coach Street just hang out at the venue after a bracket play game. Those guys get their kids to the hotel and they immediately breaking down film for the next matchup. You have to coach through the whole thing. See, a lot of people are coaching to get to the YNC, but they're not coaching to win the YNC. And that's the difference, man. You've got to get there, but then when you get there, you've got to coach to win that thing. And that's why I say, and like I said, no shot to any other's national platform, but that's why I say we are the most competitive platform, because there really is no buy game. There's no layoff game. Now, you asked me a question about what teams I think are going to do something different this year that got close last year. Yeah. So a lot of people may not realize that the SED Wolverine 7U team right now, which is in our top 3 in the country, was EGB's 6U team from last year that went undefeated or close to undefeated during the regular season and got to the YNC and realized why the YNC was the YNC. Like any other team, if you talk about Crew, when they lost to Howard the first year, if you talk about SED when they lost their first year, as these teams come and then they get a feel for what it's really like, they come back that next year hungrier, better coached, and more well equipped to handle the pressure.
Hey,
so I really think
that remind me so much. I never forget Demarcus face taking that L out there in Miramar Regional.
Hey, Demarcus hasn't lost since, though.
Listen, he wanted to hang out the whole weekend. He took L day one.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this. Demarcus took that loss at ABA. I never forget it. He lost. He was the number one team in the country at ABA. He lost to the Miami Garden Ravens. I remember
Yeah.
talking to Demarcus that afternoon, and we knew each other, but we wasn't tight like we are now. So Demarcus was trying to talk shit to bait me into playing him, and I was like, "That ain't the way the bracket go, partner." But I tell you what. So later, I tell the story all the time. Later that day, that night after we had played our game, I looked at Demarcus. I think Demarcus had lost again, and Demarcus was sitting on the bench, and the nigga was just staring up at the palm tree like he was looking for an answer. And I don't know what he found in that palm tree, but I ain't seen the nigga lose since. So whatever was in that
Right.
palm tree, he found it.
And you know who bounced back too good? Play Rampage, man. Rampage jumped to year one, came down to YNC, and got hammered off the plane. Soon as they got off the plane, bam, out of there. Came back the next
Yeah.
year, did the thing. Now Rampage City Life. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of teams that, you know, they learn that lesson. They come in, they play that championship football, and they come back and they get it, man. So that's why I want to say who got knocked off last year that we think could come back and be a YNC champion this year. And that's what I'll be looking for, because a lot of these teams, like I said, it's not only a coaching experience. You have to have the parents on point. They got to be willing to go ahead and be behind you. The coaches got to understand that they got to have these kids on point. So it's going to be super exciting. But, man, it starts this Saturday for another exciting matchup, man. I can't wait, man. I really think 12 and 13U will be decided on some bracket play right then, just this particular weekend. Now, would it be interesting, you know, because rankings come out, where will the OG Ducks be after losing with that margin of points?
Yes.
So they didn't just
I've had some
play,
people,
you know.
no, they got
They got their
dominated.
teeth
And I've
in
had
there.
some people,
Yeah,
I've had some people ask me that, man. So it's a couple things I tried to point out to them. I said, first off, you know, it's going to really take some time to dig into it, right? They could fall, you know, out of the top 10 off that loss, you know,
wow,
because that's their second loss if we count preseason plus regular season, right? But here's some things that people don't understand though. It's not like IB Braves is a trash ass organization. Some people saying, well, they wasn't ranked. Well, IB Braves had 2 preseason losses, but they 2 preseason losses were all to top 10 teams. They lost to Brick
right,
City in a close one.
correct,
And they lost to the Arizona champions in front of our eyes on the last play of the game. Both of those
right,
teams are top 10 teams. So IB Braves were not in the rankings just because they had 2 losses, not because they wasn't a top 15 team. So
right,
one thing is for sure, they definitely made their claim on why they should be in the top 15, top 10 in the country. But it also kind of, I'm not going to say it doesn't strengthen your loss, but it kind of helps OG Ducks a little bit that the IB Braves, you know, have only lost the top 10 teams. I mean, it all kind of balances out. A loss is a loss. The question is, what are they going to do to bounce from it? That's what's going to be key.
right. And Clay, I can tell you one of the most interesting age groups for me right now, that it just seems so evenly dispersed of talent, and anybody can win it, and including a team that you're going to say OG Ducks right now too, is this 9 and under division. Duval Jags came out here. They knocked off the AYF champions. The Georgia Eagles take an early season loss against the defending national champs by a point. They were leading the whole game, had a fumble on their own 2-yard line, let the champs back in. The champs do what the champs do. They capitalized on it. Then you talk about they're going to have a big game. Eagles coming up with a big game coming up not too long against Big Wahoma. So you talk about Big Tribe and Georgia Eagles. This is a team, or 9U teams can come back. And of course, Georgia Eagles, they played the national championships, and I never saw that team take that type of loss. And I'll tell you what, that caught me off guard, because I knew I've always watched Twin City. They had a conservative offense and a tremendous defense. They've always won their championship games by playing defense. But, man, they came out there and they put mega points up on Georgia Eagles, and I didn't see that coming. So now here they come back to their normal selves. But in that 9 and under, man, anyone can win this championship. But what team that you think got knocked off early in the 9U or 8U last year that can make a run for it? Could it be OG Ducks? OG is Keefe back out there now. We saw him in person. We saw number 21, the undefeated. Last time he went to Georgia and he took on both teams. He took on the Georgia Eagles, and he took on he took on the champs the same entire weekend and came up with 2 L's, and that kind of dropped him. But you got to respect what he did. He went out there to play number 1 and number 2 back to back.
You got to respect that what is now the OG Ducks 9U team, because to do what they did to travel across the country and play the number 1 and number 2 team in the country back to back like that, man, not many people is gonna try to bite off a task that big. A lot of times when guys travel, they'll say, "Hey, if I got a heavy hitter one day, give me somebody that's maybe not so heavy on day 2." But here's the thing, Jonah, and I'm gonna answer your question. We're talking about Saturday, but it's some big games going down in Atlanta on the 9U level on Sunday. You got the Noonan Outlaws versus the Montgomery Gators. You got the Wahoma Big Tribe versus the Georgia Eagles, and you got CDJ versus Mob Squad. So
Absolutely.
that 9U age level is going to transform after this weekend as well too. But if I'm answering your question, a 8U team from last year that's now 9U that I feel like is primed to maybe do something different this year or challenge for it. Right now, Twin City is still my clear-cut favorite, right? I've always been a fan of Georgia Eagles. I was screaming Georgia Eagles last year when everybody else was screaming Twin City. But the team I'm finna tell you about, and I know what you're going to say, Jonah. Oh, Clay, you're biased because they're from Texas. It has nothing to do with them being from Texas. I've seen the pieces that they're adding. I think the Gold-Blooded Titans are going to make a serious run this year. A serious run. And I know Georgia Eagles dominated the game that they had with them in Houston. But since then, Coach Demarcus has added a lot of pieces, especially in his secondary, that he needed to be able to defend a dynamic offense like the Georgia Eagles.
Right, man. Well, I can tell you what, 9 you're going to be off the chain this weekend. And next weekend, man, Clay, I got to get you to come out to Maryland with me, man. It's going to be a movie out there. A big matchup. I'll get you a Maryland, but none bigger than that 14 and under action, Maryland Heat, which is, that Maryland Heat team is mixed with 2 power teams, Watkins and City Life, taking on the OG Ducks. 14U matchup on the East Coast next weekend, man. So that's going to be a movie. That's really going to define some of that 14 under, because we know a lot of powerhouse teams are coming off from the West Coast. OC and Buckeyes. You talking about LA Rampage, of course, the Ducks. But then you talk about Maryland Heat. With that type of combination, man, that smells national championship pedigree all day with 2 of those teams combined together.
And I'm excited. I can't wait to see him in action. When I got hit up and said, hey, because I didn't have the intel. They was like, hey, Clay, this Maryland Heat 14U team is the City Life kids and the Watkins kids combined. And I said, okay. And then I asked, well, then who's the coaches? And they told me the coaches. And I said, okay, so maybe finally that YNC crystal ball on 14U will be held up by someone who's not from the West Coast on 14U. Because let's think about it, Jonah. Let's think about our last 3 to 4 national champions on 14U. OG Ducks, Vegas Strong, OC Buckeyes. I mean, it's been 14U has been dominated by the West Coast so far. It's been dominated, and I get it. We haven't seen a 14U champion since was it the Hurricanes first year?
Fort Lauderdale
that Hurricanes. We had it at St. Thomas Aquinas. Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes.
Mari Daniels, Vincent Davis, a lot of D1 players on that team. Big
lot
baby.
of D1 players.
Yeah.
So this might be the year, but here's another team that I've been hearing about. But I've been hearing a lot about them. I heard that they at Northern Hospitality, they gave the OG Ducks everything they could handle. OG Ducks won. I'm hearing about a Detroit Buckeyes team that people need to start respecting. What you know about them, Jonah?
Well, they played Keefe and those and OG Ducks close all the way into the 4th quarter, 7-0, and after that, man, Keefe does what he did. He really opened up the game and went up by 3 touchdowns just in 1 quarter, 21 unanswered points. But still, that's a team that they have the athletes. I think again it's a learning thing. One thing I could tell you about Keefe and his teams, he has a lot of national experience, and I think he has that advantage of staying at that 14 and under number 1. He doesn't jump around. He's not a 12U coach, 10U coach. Yeah, he's down calling offensive plays for the 9 and under right now. But, more or less you can count on him being at that 14 under, and that gives him an advantage of being able to play 4 quarters. I've seen him get in some games where, he got popped, but he comes right back and he's going to compete at that 14 and under like no other coach. So if you had to go to a prolific 14 and under coach who's done it, you got to give that award to Keefe right now as a 14 and under lifetime coach, because he's really done it. And I'm not just saying
the
wins and
lifetime
losses.
achievement award, huh?
Yeah, one of those lifetime achievement awards, 14 and under. And we can just let him go ahead and retire on that. But I give him his props. He's really done it at that, not just by wins and losses, but the guy has a lot of championships under his belt. He's not new to it. So when you go play that Ducks team, know you're paying a lot of experience. And that was the same thing. Rampage played them early when we were out there in California. It was competitive out there, and you just start seeing that old coaching just start sitting in, the plays that he would do, the things, and Rampage just ran out of gas. But that's that experience. First year that Rampage is on 14 and under. They were with the 13 and under team. And, Clay's been on, not Clay. You've been on the big stage, but Keefe's been on the big stage before. And, yeah, you always got to give the coaching edge to him until you just actually can take it from him. So, yeah, Detroit Buckeyes probably can give a majority of 90% of the 14 U teams in the country the business off of talent. But, to win the YNC, man, you got to have the full package, man, to bring it home.
The thing that is interesting to me, Jonah, is as I look up at the clock here, I'm going to let everybody know you have 2 hours and 4 minutes, no matter where you are, to get your roster emailed in. That roster needs to be emailed in to invite, INVITE, at Youth National Championship, all spelled out.com. Invite at youthnationalchampionship.com. Guys, make sure you have your rosters in. If you're in the league, send in your official league roster. If you are a independent team, it needs to be an Excel format or PDF format. We need the players' age level and team. We need their jersey number, full name, date of birth, and let's get those rosters in so we can get everybody locked in. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, Jonah, I took a look at the inbox, man, and it was an overwhelming amount of not just Division I teams roster submitted, but these Division II teams roster submitted. And I'm gonna put it out there, man. They got some people out there faking the funk right now, right? So I don't want you guys to get confused. You see what this hat says? Make sure there's only one Youth National Championship. You see how that football is standing straight up right there? That football is vertical. Don't fall for the one where the football is horizontal. They done basically tried to copy my label. They done basically tried to copy our cutoff dates, our rules. Hell, but here's the thing. When you send your roster in, your roster coming into a corporate email. It says at youthnationalchampionship.com. It ain't no at Gmail. So if you sending your roster into a free Gmail account, it ain't the YNC, baby.
And send your registration in.
Don't get fooled by the okie doke. All right, we are in South Florida, Wellington, Florida, on down. We not up north where it gets cold in Florida. All right, So don't get fooled, guys. I done had a few people get fooled. No, see, Tony, you wrong. It ain't got nothing to do with Panther. Panther is ranked up, and YNC and Panther don't have no issue. See, people making their own assumptions.
Let me clear it up, Clay.
We are not. What is it? United Tykes Network or whatever. Don't get fooled with that national championship. The YNC is totally different. YNC is totally different.
So basically, listen, we took a lot to create this brand for YNC, and people, 5-6 years ago, we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Not just from the events that we put together, keeping them incident free, keeping the kids safe, but keeping a consistent place of competition. We competitors. We're gonna compete. Clay played football. I play football. We got competitors in our blood. That ain't gonna ever change. But one thing is, we're gonna be original. We respect like an OG, and we don't have no problem giving credits like an AYF. We're gonna respect what those people did and what they're doing. We're not gonna make our logos look nothing like theirs. They deserve to have their own identity. Don't try to come out here and just try to grab people and try to make your logos look like ours. Try to be in the same state and try to get the whole thing, the youth national championship and youth playoffs. You don't have to be a sucker and bite. Be creative. Do what you need to do. But the whole thing is, don't mislead people, because it's a lot of people that's out of state that want the opportunity and they don't have our contact information, so they'll get caught up online. We all know this is the digital world, digital platform, and they see the logo and they go to clicking and go to committing. So it is what it is on that. But no, we just let y'all know that, we are aware of it. We ain't sitting on it. We ain't no suckers on our side. Ain't nothing sweet over here at YNC. and we're gonna just show it not
Man,
only the football side, but we're gonna show you our corporate side. We're gonna let our people from battles and attorney just go ahead and flex real quick, and we're gonna show you how we get down on that other side. Just do something original, man. You don't need to go ahead and bite off us. Don't ride the wave, at least not ours. You feel me? So
my thing
that's what
is,
we're saying.
Joan,
But no.
everybody has the right to do their own thing, man. I don't have a
Right.
problem with that, but at least try to be a little bit original with your creativity
Say
and
something
your
free.
marketing. You can't make your shit look almost identical to ours and put it out there and think that people not gonna get misled by it or confused by it. I had people that know me in real life text me, "Hey man, you moved your nationals to Pensacola, Florida?" I said, "Read the whole flyer, you illiterate son of a bitch. Does it say Youth National Championship?" But it looked so similar that they thought it was it.
Same
So just
color,
make sure you
black,
guys are reading.
gold. So, if y'all got the audacity to do that, we're going to have the audacity to blast you. So, it is what it is. You ain't even see nothing yet. You want to go ahead and go that way, we'll make sure we embarrass you. We were trying to keep it core. We'll give you, hey, listen, this is going to be a funny, quick story. So, you know how the preachers be, Clay, they try to be holy and now until they get pissed off. So, this one pastor got a radio station down here in Miami, and I guess they said something about him. So I tuned in real quick. I'm riding in the car, and all I heard was this high-pitched voice. "Boy, you got 24 hours to get your mouth off of me before I put my mouth on you." And I'm like, hold on, did I tune into the right station? what I'm listening to, what I'm talking about, mouth on and mouth off. So the pastor just got so pissed that, he wanted to go, so we going to put it the same way, man. You got 24 hours. Get it right. You know what I'm saying? Or we just going to have to go ahead and put you out there. Just be original, man. Listen, there's more
Hey,
places for these kids to play and do their thing. But we work hard for what we doing and just work hard for what you're doing. Don't piggyback. We good on that.
hey, like my man said, hey, you could put a chokehold on it and call it blue dog shit. Just don't let me catch you doing this no more. So
So look,
it's
man.
only
Hey,
one blue
Clay.
magic, baby.
A lot of people tune in tonight to get rankings tonight. I'm saying, hey, man, we 45 minutes in, we 50 minutes in. When we dropping 6U, 7U, 8U, man, break that news to them, Clay.
Hey, listen, guys. Rank is not coming to next week. Rank is not coming to next week. And here's why. Let's be real. Everybody, look at how the whole just everything was just shaken up last year. And we've got more big games this weekend. We're going to wait to after this weekend so we can fully evaluate everything. Because here's the thing. Do we pride ourselves on having perfect rankings where everything is 100% right? No, we don't. I wish we did, but we don't. But we do try to get it as accurate and as credible as possible. And for
Right.
that, let's go and give it a couple weeks. Let us look at it real good. Joan and I can sit down after the last game in Atlanta, in the spot. I ain't gonna say what the spot is, and sip us on some drink, and then we're gonna revamp them rankings the correct way. Well, actually, we got to wait till Sunday because there's some big games on Sunday too.
Yeah.
And you
Big
know
games is
what? While we bullshitting, we also got to wait till Monday night because there's always that Monday night game on the West Coast. And I ain't gonna lie to you, Jonah. I think that's kind of dope to have the
I like it.
one youth football game on Monday night. I think that's kind of dope, man. Hats off to them guys, man. I think that was a dope idea.
I like it. FYFL used to do that. I don't know why they stopped. They used to have a little Monday night football vibe. But I guess people don't want to compete with the NFL. But you got your own little market there. It's your own vibe. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. This should be some excellent week of football. Hey, y'all drop some top games that's going on this weekend. Let us know. Y'all hit us on the inbox. There's some teams that y'all think we need to get out there and scout. We got cameramen around the country. We want to make sure we just go ahead and start bringing in all the highlights. Me and Clay, like we said before, we'll be in the A this weekend checking out two big matchups. Plantation Wildcats, RDU, FU, Lauderhill Lions. Really going to shake up the rankings there. Win, lose, or draw, man. Those teams definitely deserve to have that look. And then, of course, 9 and under, man. I'm looking at big Wahoma and Georgia Eagles. That's going to be a barn fight, bro. That's going to be a dog
Yeah.
fight right there.
Yeah.
Two
What?
different
Let me know
styles of
what
football.
time is that? What time is that on Sunday? I might be able to catch that before my plane leaves Sunday afternoon. I
Yeah,
might be
I
able to
leave
catch
Sunday
that one.
afternoon, too, so hopefully. I didn't know about that game till 2 days ago. I definitely would have scheduled early, so we get them boys some shout-outs, man. So until next week, man, Of course, Clay, he already told you. You got how many? What's the countdown right now for Ross?
Hey, right now you got an hour and 56 minutes. No matter what part of the world you in.
Play with
An
it you
hour
want
and
to.
56 minutes. Huh?
Play
Hour,
with
an
it you
hour and
want to.
56. Hey, invite at youthnationalchampionship.com.
Play with it.
Oh
You'll
shit.
be at that Pensacola joint. Hey, you'll be at that Pensacola joint for real. Talk about
Hey,
kickoff.
boy, you cold blooded. You cold blooded.
Hey man, till next week, same place, same time. Rankings drop next week Thursday. Clayton Gill and Jonah Wood at Rankins Uncut. We'll catch you here next week.